3 people walked past her. The first pretended not to see her. The second looked, then walked away. The third laughed and said, "Old woman, you're not my responsibility." Rain kept falling. Her clothes were soaked. Her hands trembled. She clutched an old wooden box to her chest as if it contained her entire life. Then, a 23-year-old young man stopped. He had no money, no expensive clothes, no car, only one umbrella, one decision. And before the sun rose the next morning, his life changed forever. But what the old woman placed inside his hands that rainy evening, no one in that village had ever imagined. Stay until the end, because this story proves that sometimes your greatest blessing arrives disguised as someone's burden. Heavy rain poured over the busy road leading into the village. People hurried home. Motorcycles sped past. Cars splashed muddy water everywhere. Standing beside the road was an old woman, probably over 80 years old. She held a small wooden box in one hand and a walking stick in the other. She was completely drenched. Her knees shook from weakness. She whispered, "My son, please, can someone help me get home?" A businessman walked by. He glanced at her. He tightened his expensive coat and hurried away. Minutes later, a young lady carrying shopping bags noticed the woman. She hesitated, then looked at the rain, and walked away. An Okada rider slowed down. The woman begged, "My son, please." He laughed. "I'm already late." He sped off. The old woman remained standing alone. Rain kept falling. 23-year-old Daniel had just finished helping a bricklayer at a construction site. His clothes were dirty. His slippers were worn out. His stomach was empty. The little money he earned that day could only buy one meal. As he walked home under his old umbrella, he noticed the old woman. He stopped. He looked around. Hundreds of people had already ignored her. Daniel quietly walked toward her. "Grandma, can I help you?" The woman smiled weakly. "My son, everyone left me." Daniel removed his umbrella from above himself and held it over the old woman instead. Within seconds, he became completely soaked. The old woman looked surprised. "My son, you'll become wet." Daniel smiled. "I'll dry later. But if you remain here, you may not survive this rain." Daniel noticed the wooden box was very heavy. "Grandma, allow me." He carried the box onto his shoulder, then supported her with one hand while holding the umbrella over her. The journey took almost an hour. The road was muddy. Several times Daniel slipped. His slippers broke. His clothes became covered in dirt. Still, he never complained. Along the road, the same people who ignored the woman stared at him. Some laughed. Others mocked him. "See this poor boy. As if helping an old woman will make him rich." Daniel simply smiled and kept walking. Finally, they arrived at the old woman's tiny house. The old woman invited Daniel inside. The house looked ordinary. Old furniture. Simple walls. Nothing suggested wealth. She prepared hot tea for him. Daniel thanked her. As he stood to leave, the old woman stopped him. "My son." "Wait." She opened the wooden box. Inside were neatly arranged documents, old photographs, jewelry, and several sealed envelopes. Daniel looked confused. The woman smiled. "For months, I've watched people. Many wanted what I owned, but nobody wanted to help me." She removed one envelope, placed it in Daniel's hands. "You helped me without asking for anything." Daniel opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a letter. The old woman explained. Years earlier, her late husband had owned several hectares of farmland and rental buildings. She had no children, no relatives she trusted. She had searched for someone with kindness instead of greed. For months, she secretly observed people in the village. Everyone failed, except Daniel. The documents transferred ownership of one large piece of farmland and a rental property into Daniel's name. Daniel's hands shook. He couldn't believe it. Tears filled his eyes. The old woman smiled. Kindness is the only wealth that never becomes poor. Months later, Daniel started farming. The harvest became successful. The rental income grew. He built businesses, created jobs, helped widows, sponsored children through school. The poor young man who once struggled to buy one meal became one of the most respected men in the community. Years later, whenever people asked Daniel how he became successful, he never mentioned luck. He never talked about hard work first. Instead, he always smiled and said, "My greatest investment was 20 minutes in the rain." The old woman passed away peacefully, but her final blessing continued living through every life Daniel changed. Because sometimes, God doesn't test people with opportunities. He tests them with people. The stranger you ignore today may be carrying tomorrow's miracle. Ending message. If this story touched your heart, remember this. Kindness costs little, but it can open doors that money never will. Help people when you can, not because you're expecting a reward, but because kindness always leaves a seed behind. And one day, that seed may become the greatest harvest of your life.